Hello, welcome to school year 2021-2022. I'm CJ Burnt, your Child Find Specialist for grades 7 through 12. And today I'm going to talk with you about the middle school, high school child find process. And it can feel a lot like a journey for some of our families. So pack your bags, settle in, and buckle up for the ride. Thanks for joining me. Trading outcomes. By the end of today's professional development, participants will be able to gain an understanding of how we will leverage the teacher school level and parent, legal guardian, family discussion in the child find process. Learn when it's time to refer to the child find team versus when the school level team and family would only establish interventions to stabilize or engage a student. Learn how we will document and communicate potential child find needs through the middle, high school referral process. And understand the child find specialist roles and responsibilities and explore some potential child find meeting outcomes. I'm CJ Burnt, your child find specialist for grades 4 through 12. I'm starting my 6th school year with Arizona Virtual Academy and my 10th in education. Prior to becoming an educator, I served in a variety of roles and capacities in community behavioral health for the better part of a decade. When I'm not working, I'm an avid reader and a lifelong learner. I'm married and I'm also a mom to 2 adult humans and a menagerie of pets. When we talk about child find or child study, what we're really talking about is a process. And while it's not always linear, it does tend to follow some stages. When we are in stage 1, it's all pre-referral and still happening at the teacher, school level, and parent, legal guardian, family level. Once the school level team and the parent, legal guardian, family has determined that a referral to the child find process is in the student's best interest, then we move on to a referral. Mary Claire is going to go into more depth on the referral process at the K-5 level. In stage 3, that's really where the teacher, school level, and of course the parent, legal guardian, family has a lot more of that child find specialist support through our responsibility to everyone, teacher, student, school level, parent, legal guardian, family. We are going to talk a little bit about stage 4, which entails child find team meetings and explore some potential outcomes. Remembering that stage 1 is pre-referral, it is going to entail some kind of request from the family and also discussions. So let's start with what some possible requests from a family could look like. A family could submit a verbal or written request for a special education evaluation. During the beginning of the school year, there are lots of phone calls. We're checking in with families. We're getting them in through orientations. We're doing one-on-ones. We're doing lots of team building and training. During those 45-day screeners, we may hear a family request a child find referral. They may request an individual education plan or an IEP, or they may request help beyond the general education setting. Now we've sent out a timeline for when teachers can request a child find referral. Remembering that we're still in stage 1, we have not yet made a referral to the child find team. What do we do now that a family has requested support that reaches a little bit beyond the general education setting? The very first thing we want to do is prepare for a conversation with that family. We're going to do a little bit of data research and gather some information to prepare for that conversation. We want to double check that the student has been enrolled with us for at least 30 days. We also want to be sure that the student is attending those required Tier 1 sessions. If the student is enrolled in multi-tiered support systems, we want to make sure that they're attending and engaging and getting as much of that small group attention to close some of those gaps as possible. But while the student is also engaging in those interventions, we also want to gather some data, especially if they're growing and the interventions are proving successful, but also if the student is working their hardest and they're not growing. We also want to gather information about grades. Maybe a student does really well in one content area but is struggling in another. We definitely want to know about that. Please remember to gather information regarding assessments and benchmarks like NWEA, DIBELS, interim assessments, anything that will help us get a fuller picture of that student. We are still pre-referral in stage 1 and the family has asked for support beyond the general education setting. The school level team has done some kind of data research and is now preparing to talk with the family. I just want to touch on some discussion points. It's inevitable that during this conversation we're going to share information about NWEA, DIBELS, interim assessments, or some other informal or formal assessment that we've gathered to help us understand the student. Please remember to keep these discussions parent-friendly and jargon-free. Because this is a two-way conversation, the family may disclose information about the student or the family, and key among that is the student's learning environment. If the family does not disclose information about the student's learning environment, please ask. This could be as simple as learning that the student is studying in the hub of the home and there are too many people and pets that are causing a distraction. Conversely, well-meaning learning coaches and parents will sometimes put a student in a quiet location, but there are not enough mature eyes on the student to make sure that they're schooling daily. If this comes up in a conversation with the family, it is absolutely appropriate to solve that at the school level. However, there are other things that affect a student's learning environment and school resources to support them. If a family discloses to you that they have housing insecurity or they are in fact homeless, please reach out to our McKinney-Vento coordinator for a referral to help that family secure adequate housing. If a student or family discloses to you that they're struggling with some other kind of crisis like domestic violence, intense grief due to the loss of a loved one, housing or food insecurity, you can also refer them to our student resource coordinator who has a variety of community resources that may be able to help them get their situation more stable so the student can school appropriately each day. Again, it is appropriate to handle that at the school level without a referral to Child Find. It never fails that the most computer savvy person in the home is not the learning coach. If that happens, perhaps there's a grandparent, older sibling, or someone who is home with the student but doesn't understand our systems, please be sure to refer them to their advisor or the family engagement coordinator for orientation or training so they can understand how to navigate our system and support the student. That's definitely something that can be handled on the school level. There are occasions where a family will disclose that a student is struggling with a medical or behavioral health situation, symptoms, diagnosis, or even treatment that is adversely impacting their school day. If a family discloses this information to you, just document it the best you can and refer them to the Child Find specialist for further support. We've covered a lot of ground, and I just want to recap stage 1. By this point, the school has received a request from the parent, legal guardian, or family for support beyond the general education setting. The teacher or school level team has conducted some type of data research and had a conversation with the family that was parent-friendly and jargon-free. They also gathered information to better understand the student and their needs. The teacher or school level have established school level interventions and will reconnect with the family in 30 days. If the school level team has determined that a referral to the Child Find team is in the student's best interest, they have established school level interventions and will refer the student to the Child Find team using the DocuSign process. Speaking of the DocuSign process, I'm now going to have Mary Claire discuss what that looks like for K-5. Now that you've had a chance to gather some information and talk with the family about the student's needs and concerns, you may go ahead and submit your referral to the Child Find process. New school year, new form. Welcome to stage 2, the middle school, high school teacher input form. I've really tried to simplify this form and I've broken it down into a couple of different sections because these will all be talking points during our meetings. So the top portion of the form hasn't changed a whole lot. I still need the student's name, first and last, or first initial and last name, and please include their student ID. It's very important that we're all talking about the same student. Quite often we see very similar names or students with the exact name in our school. On the teacher portion, I put this a little differently, and please, any feedback is welcome. I really want to have your preferred prefix and a transliterated spelling of your name. So I used mine as an example here. I really like being called Mrs. Burnt. My last name, it's a little confusing for people. I've heard it pronounced Berno, Bear, um, I put an example of mine in the parentheses there. My last name is actually Burnt, like sunburnt. So if you could give me your prefix and the transliterated spelling of your name so I get it correctly in the meetings. Just put your content area, that hasn't changed, and the date the form is submitted hasn't changed either. Present levels of performance. This is really getting to the heart of why you're referring this student. What should they be able to do by now at this point in their academic career that they cannot do that is negatively impacting their schooling? Is it an academic expectation? They're not performing at grade level. Is it a behavioral expectation? Are they disruptive in class, disruptive to their own learning, and it needs to be looked at by the team? I need to know where they are performing now and why this is prompting a referral to the Child Find team. The next piece, what do the scores mean? We're going to cover a lot of data in these meetings, and my big ask this school year is to keep it parent-friendly and jargon-free. Help us understand how the student is struggling and why Child Find is the appropriate process to solve that need. Lastly, please let me know how they are engaging with the online curriculum, whether that's OLS, OMS, or OMHS. Are they schooling appropriately? There are times when we have kids that will not ever show up for a live session. However, they will do their work online. That may not necessarily require referral to Child Find, so I need to know how they're engaging in the online piece aside from those live sessions. Here we go, the final sections of the middle school, high school teacher input form. I have teachers who will write a great paragraph about the student and cover everything I need. If you would prefer to do it that way, just go ahead and toss your information down here. There are other times when a referral will be prompted because of a student's behavior, or the parent has disclosed that the student has a medical or behavioral health diagnosis from an outside provider and we need a referral. However you want to use this bottom box to provide information, go ahead. Underneath that, please paste any snapshots of current grades or work samples or anything that you feel is relevant to this referral. Engagement and attendance may also come into play, so please make sure that you include any other information about your student here. I'm trying to keep this to one page to save you extra work, save me extra work, and we're going to see how this goes. Now that we've established the need to refer a student to the Child Find process, let's talk about stage 3, Child Find specialist response to the teacher school level and the parent, legal guardian, family. In stage 3, the Child Find specialist is now involved. Prior to this, the school has received a request from a family, conducted some data research, had a conversation with the family around the student's needs, and has submitted the referral through the appropriate channels. It is now that the Child Find specialist is legally obligated to respond to the school level team and/or the parent, legal guardian, or family of the student. I've been a little careful with that second piece, and I want to go ahead and clarify why. More often than not, our students live with one or both parents and they are involved in the process. We do have students who live with a legal guardian like a grandparent or an aunt or uncle, sometimes even an adult sibling who has taken legal responsibility for them. More recently, we've had students who are involved in the foster care system who are placed with loving families who advocate for them but do not have legal decision-making rights. It's important that the Child Find team is engaging with the legal decision maker for that student. During the Child Find process, the Child Find specialist will reach out to the teacher for clarification. I apologize in advance if we are reaching out more than once for information. At the time of the meeting, it is important that all of the information is as up to date as possible. If the Child Find specialist has successfully contacted the parent, legal guardian, or other decision maker for a family, they will schedule a meeting. The most common types of meetings are the Child Find team meeting, or maybe your previous school called it the Child Study team meeting. This happens at the school level and does not include our school psychology team. The second type of meeting, which does include that school psychology team, is the multidisciplinary evaluation team meeting 1. And I'm going to go into both of these meeting types on the next few slides. Whew, stage 4. Thank you for hanging in there with us. So far, the school level team has received a request from a parent or family. They have completed some kind of data research and talked with the family about concerns for the student. The school level team has completed the appropriate referral to the Child Find team. The Child Find specialist has responded to both the school level team as well as the student's parent, legal guardian, or other decision makers. Now we're going to talk about the different Child Find team meetings and touch on some potential outcomes. So who's required to attend Child Find team meetings? As you can see from the list, every attendee plays a key role. Teachers, please send your data to the Child Find specialist prior to the meeting. Also, please come prepared to discuss the student's engagement, academics, data, behavior, and anything else that the team needs to know. As I mentioned earlier, all legal decision makers for the student must attend the meeting. No matter what lengths we've gone through to schedule a meeting, if the legal decision maker is not there, there are times when we must reschedule a meeting. Arizona Virtual Academy has established that lead master teachers or other members of administration will serve as the local education agency representative, or LEA. This person represents the school district. Lastly, it is not uncommon for families to bring outside supports to their meeting. These people can be therapists, coaches, or other people who provide insight about the student or support to the family. Oh, the places we will go. Now that we've discussed the school level Child Find team or Child Study team meeting, let's touch base on the potential outcomes. There are a variety of reasons why we would want to continue the multi-tiered system of support with a student. Generally, when we're in the Child Find process and we determine to continue MTSS support, we usually follow up with a second meeting to review any new data. Occasionally, a family will get into the process and determine that they actually want to keep their student in the general education setting, but they want formal support for their student. When this happens, we may refer the student to the 504 coordinator for the development of a Section 504 plan. This plan keeps the student in general education, but has documented formal supports like accommodations and occasionally related services. It is also common for the Child Find team to learn more about a student and determine that a referral to the multidisciplinary evaluation team is needed. I'm going to discuss the multidisciplinary evaluation team process on the next slide. As you can see, the Child Find process has a lot of moving parts. The team may host a Child Find team meeting only to end up referring a student to the multidisciplinary evaluation team for meeting 1. We often call this the MET 1. The MET 1 is another information gathering meeting held in an interview format. The attendees include the school psychologist, speech language pathologist, teachers, Child Find specialist, parent, legal guardian, family, and sometimes other supports, as well as the local education agency representative. The LEA represents the school district, and presently Arizona Virtual Academy has assigned specific school leadership to serve in this role. MET1 interviews are designed to gather more detailed information about the student and their personal history. This information may feel intimate to teachers and others. However, it is designed to aid the team in appropriate decision making. All team members are expected to engage in this meeting, and together the team determines whether or not they will refer the student for evaluations. It does happen on occasion that after the MET1 concludes, the team may not determine to evaluate a student. In that case, a student may be referred to a Section 504 plan or back to general education for more interventions. However, it's most common to refer a student for evaluations, and we'll talk about the MET2 on the following slide. At the conclusion of the MET1, the team determined to complete evaluations to decide if the student is in need of special education. This leads us to the Multidisciplinary Evaluation Team Meeting 2, or MET2. During the MET2, the team reviews all the reports from the school psychology team and/or related service team. The school psychology team will share the information in a parent-friendly and jargon-free manner to help the parent understand how the student is struggling and why special education services are needed. Or conversely, why special education is not an appropriate setting for their student. Some possible outcomes of a MET2 are a student may be referred to the special education department for the development of an individual education plan, or IEP, or a student is found not eligible for special education and an IEP. We're approaching the end of the child find process. At the conclusion of the child find process, if a student is found to have an identified disability, they will be referred to the special education department and assigned a case manager to develop an individual education plan, or IEP. This plan will give the student accommodations and sometimes services through special education because they are now a student with an identified disability or disabilities. We will roll out more professional development on special education and IEPs throughout the school year. If at the conclusion of the child find process, a student is found not to have an identified disability and the team determines that the student does not need an IEP, the team will refer the student back to general education. However, sometimes the evaluations reveal that a student has needs that are not disabilities but may require additional support. In these instances, the team may recommend the development of a Section 504 plan, which keeps the student in general education but with accommodations and supports or even related services. Keep an eye out for training coming from your 504 coordinator. If at any time you are unclear of how to support a struggling student, please reach out to your lead master teacher, content leaders, grade level teams, or the Child Find Specialist for support. Your Child Find Specialist is CJ Burnt, and I can be reached at cburnt@k12.com. The K-12 Child Find team knows your time is valuable, and we're so grateful you chose to spend it with us. This has been the Middle School High School Child Find Process presentation. Thank you for watching and have a great day.